Okay, guys. So this panel is called Rooted in Worth, Building Wealth. Essentially, we're just going to start off on the practical steps women should be taking when it comes to wealth creation, right? And let's start off with Ejiro. So, Ejiro, because you're in the fashion business, and I would sort of say fashion falls under like the creative industry. When people say they are creatives, I think a huge problem that is so universal is structure. They don't really have that structure. But looking at someone like you and all your accomplishments, how are you able to put structure into your business from a financial perspective?
So right from the get go, I'll say while studying fashion, you have internships, and I think for young people, it's very important to if you want to do a business or you're creative, oh, I'm creative. I can be a photographer, a hairdresser, whatever it is. It would make sense to really research, and part of that research would be easiest way to get that would be maybe internships. So those early jobs that you get, don't despise them and say I'm not going to do that. And whilst you're on that internship, it's not just to be at the job on your desk. It's to study the company and the organization. How does it run? How does it sustain itself? So I had done a couple of internships and I even worked for 2 years. So I researched the industry and seen how designers and design companies are being run. So I knew the structures to have in my business right off the bat. So how made sure I didn't get an accountant until like the third year. And it was very much until I got the accountant that I understood my numbers. So if you can do that earlier, the better. Good. But initially, right off the bat, make sure you had the basic things like your books where you document all your products and whatever you're creating the services, what the cost that you generate while running your business, so that you can clearly see what you're spending or what you intend to make and what you're making and calculate and see, am I even breaking even? Where am I making profit? All of that. You have to understand that even if you're not a creative, make out time to get some financial education. You can learn online. You can join different groups, come to stuff like this. So being here is already a pass. So you really need to understand the basics of of accounting and economics to be able to grow your business. Your talent is not a business. It's just a talent. It becomes a business when you know numbers. So it doesn't matter how talented you are and how many customers you can get. If you don't know numbers, you're not running any business. You're just doing your hobby and sharing your creativity with the world, sometimes for free. And it doesn't matter. And I also worked and studied businesses that had very high turnover, but were constantly in deficit. So you have to really know. You don't just throw everything at it. What am I going to put in and what am I hoping to get out? Because you might just be putting in much more than you will ever get out. And then everyone sees you have this fancy looking business or even have high turnover, but you're actually at loss and not really going anywhere. So really understanding your numbers and how to track it and what to do is essential to growing your business. And actually my business was 40,000 naira to where it is now. So if I didn't quite have my eyes on the book from the first day, I don't think that would have been possible. And deciding to spend 20,000 naira on furniture and keeping the other one for contingencies and then getting free rent from my dad. Of course, I used my room as my first office. So just practical steps like that and even putting a cost to that room because like 6 months down the line, my father was like, no, this is nonsense. You can't have this in my house. Kicks me out. So if I didn't have an understanding of that cost and even the generator that was free for the first few months, after like the third month, I started paying for running the generator because everyone would go to work and school during the day and I would have the generator running because I was running the factory. If I didn't put the cost to it and start paying that bill, I won't be able to articulate it into my business. So sometimes you think you're doing okay because other people are taking up those costs for you, but every single cost needs to be accounted for.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ejiro. I don't know if everyone heard. Ejiro literally just said she started with 40,000 naira for her business. And you can imagine how much money that she's made. Another point that I thought was so powerful was she said talent is just talent, right? You actually need to know numbers. And personally, for me, I'm not someone that likes numbers, right? I like strategy. Not many people are, I mean, to be honest, you guys are I invest, so you work with numbers, but numbers are so critical. And even if you don't know it, you can hire people. Tola also touched on the same points, but talking about numbers and tools and resourcing. So, the next question is for you. I feel that when it comes to building wealth, a lot of women may sort of feel like they don't know where to begin. They don't know what tools they should be taking on. What resources should they be looking at? Given your position as a leader and expert within the financial services space, what advice can you give to us?
Okay. Thank you for that question. Um, I think that I can completely understand why, women and people in general might be overwhelmed by the thought of finance. I think sometimes it's a bit daunting, right? But it really doesn't need to be. I know that, even myself, I've been in that place once before where it's like, okay, I've gotten a job. I don't really know what to do with my money. Personally, I've always been pretty good at saving. So, like, I was that child that when the uncle gives you some money, I'll keep it, but I never did anything with it, right? I would always just keep it, and then eventually something would happen and there will be a need and the money just goes. Um, but the reality is that you have to have, going back to a lot of things that will have already been said, right? You have to have that mindset shift. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to have all the answers, but you have to do something, right? I think for women today, right? In 2025, I think that we're really fortunate, compared to when I think about myself when I got my first job, right? There's so much information at your fingertips. Tola touched on it. We're in a world of AI. You can put a question to ChatGPT, and in seconds, you get answers. So I think we don't need to sit back and feel like, okay, I'm not a finance guru, so I can't do anything. There are a lot of, as I said, information at your disposal. Communities, for example, at I Invest, we have a Telegram community, and you can get insights about what investment opportunities are out there, what's happening in the market. So I think that we need to use everything that is at our disposal. Seek out information, right? Understand what's happening. Simple things like listening to the news. As women, we get involved, we go shopping. If you want to invest, I hear a lot of people say, oh, I really don't know what to do. If you want to invest, start by investing in something that you use. So when I look at myself, when I think back to when I first got a job, I think, okay, my only regret is why didn't I actually start investing earlier? When I first got a job, I've always been an Apple user, and I think, okay, if I had taken $100 and bought Apple shares, almost 20 years ago now, right? Those Apple shares were probably about $2. Today, they're like 240 something dollars. So if I had taken that $100, today I would have well over $10,000. So it's making a start. Nothing is too small. Just get started. At I Invest, we have various savings plans. Violence for her being a prime example. Start putting money away. Once you have something tangible, start your investment journey. Even the Nigerian equities market, you can get started with 150 naira. Buy something. If you don't know what to buy something that you know. What do you eat? What do you drink? What do you make use of? What do you see around you? Those are indicators. Seek out information. As I said, ChatGPT is useful. You can ask questions. Okay, what's happening with the banking stock today? And at least once you seek out information, it will give you direction. But the key thing is just to start. Get started.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Toby. And I think that's very encouraging. Like, just hearing your story about how you are able to say, if you had started saving years back, your money would have compounded. And I think sometimes we sort of take for granted, we sort of say, oh, we're not there financially. So because I'm not at that number, I am almost like not worthy of investing. And it's such a lie. It's actually false. But what Toby has just shared is that there's like a compounding benefits. Even James Clear says it like in his book, right? The more that you do something, it's like baby steps. It will compound. Money actually grows over time. So even if it's like 100,000 naira or 200,000 naira, just starts from somewhere. But let's move on to Tomi, an entrepreneur. Tomi, you worked in Citibank. We actually moved back to Nigeria about the same time. So I don't know if you noticed, I told Tomi to come and sit here. She went there and did like this to me. Can you imagine? But that's because we're friends. But when we first moved back in 2015, Tomi has always been that person to say, guys, I'm not doing this 9 to 5. I'm going to start a business. Whether it was a fabric business, we were all buying boo-boos from Tomi. Some of those boo-boos I still have today. And then from there, she said, oh, I'm going to open a hair salon. I remember thinking, are you even a hair person? Like, where is this idea coming from? But the secret to Tomi is that she sees opportunity and she grabs it. But before you left Citibank, when you decided that you were going on this entrepreneurial route, how are you able to financially prepare? Because I think there are lots of people in the room who have the 9 to 5 job, but they have something that they're passionate about. And if you ask them, most of them, the reason why they haven't made that pivot is financial stagnancy. They just feel that my money is not enough. So in your case, what were you able to do and how can we learn from that?
Thank you for your question. Hi, everyone. Very nice to see beautiful faces. So I moved back to Nigeria in 2014, and I come from a family of bankers and people that work in finance. So, the expectation was that I would go into finance and banking, which I did. And 3 years into my banking journey, I realized that, I was earning good money, like it was good pay, but it wasn't enough to maintain the lifestyle that I knew I wanted. So I knew the kind of life I wanted. I knew, how Tara spoke about you envisioning the life you want and all of that. So I knew the kind of life I wanted, and I knew that my salary was not going to give me that lifestyle. So I discovered a gap in the hair care space, which was there were many hair salons, but they didn't know what they were doing, right? So you'd have hair salons, they would just tell you, oh, your hair is due, it's time to relax your hair. They would just do whatever without really having the knowledge and the expertise. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is a gap. Like I can plug this gap and I can make money from this. So I started the journey still with my 9 to 5. So I didn't stop my job. I carried on with my 9 to 5 and I was saving a portion of my salary. So I have an 80-20 rule. So I save 80% and I spend 20%. Yeah. So
Not everyone can do that.
sorry?
Discipline.
Not everyone can achieve. So I was very, very disciplined because I was very determined. However, I was very privileged to have the network that I had. What do I mean? I had friends and family who were willing to support me on my entrepreneurial journey. And I feel like a lot of people may think that they don't have people to support, but you're only as strong as your network. So if you need to network, you need to meet people who are willing to invest in you, who see your vision, who see your dream. And I had that, right? So that was what also helped me. So it wasn't just my savings from my salary. I had friends and family who were willing to invest in me. I was able to raise patient capital, deliberate capital from people who cared about me, and I was able to make that transition. So I didn't make that transition until my path to first revenue was clear. So I knew that, okay, this business is viable. It's able to pay me what I was earning at City and even more. And then I made that jump. So yes, I
Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. I think that's so much like discipline, like especially being a woman. We don't talk about, yes, we say save, 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 but it's like, we're just women. We want things like you want to change your hair, you want to do your nails. It's a cost. Like being a woman is such a cost all the time. And you touched on raising capital. That was actually my next question for you. Today, you hear about, VC companies, particularly for tech businesses. And I know Hairitage is non-tech. I mean, you've actually answered that question. I was just going to say, what alternative routes can people look at to raise capital? You mentioned the privilege of family and friends. Some people may say, actually, I think that's a lie because Tola also touched on it and Tara did. They said leverage networks. Like it'll surprise you, right? Get like 10 friends. Well, would you be able to touch on an additional route when it comes to raising capital? Does anything come to mind?
through family and friends. But what that has done for me is it's opened more doors for me. And so I have banks coming to me to raise debt, right? Debt is an option. So it doesn't have to be equity. You can raise debt, right? Cheap debt. So that's one route. They're the VCs, the angel investors, but I feel like they're more stringent. So depending on the type of business you want to go into, you want patient capital, right? You want it to be, look, I believe in you. I have faith in you. Not people coming to you within the first year, asking for returns on their investment, right? So you need patient capital. And I think that can only come from your network, your friends, and your family. There are other routes. I mentioned debt. Debt is not cheap. It's quite expensive. Interest rates are 24% today. So going the debt route, I wouldn't advise it as a start. So I would really, really, really advise on the friends and family grants as well. Exactly. Ejiro, please tell her. Yeah.
You can also raise capital via grants, especially when you're starting out and you have an interest in a good idea. I think there's so many organizations out there, even Nigerian organizations, like the governmental organizations, that are not really aware of that give grants. So BOI has the money to give out, and a lot of people are not even going to get the money. So almost every dispensation keeps money aside for young people that they will give as grants. Way back when in my journey, when Goodluck Jonathan was still president, I got the UN grant. I think I was able to get 8 million naira. So, and I used to buy generator. Yeah. So you can, certain things like you can get some money into your business and sometimes to kickstart your business, sometimes just to grow your business and then to offset certain things that you absolutely need. But there are certainly so many other ways to raise capital. But without even knowing your number or what it could be, cannot raise capital or there's nothing like that.
Yeah, I think I was gonna just touch on like it's the foundation is the value creation. You need to be able to prove that your business has value, and it might not have the value today, but it has the value in the future. And I think it's the same thing with even if you're in a 9 to 5, right? You need to be able to prove your worth, your value within that organization. I think one thing that women don't always do well is articulate our value. If you're going to a conversation, you want to earn more, you need to be able to say, okay, look, this is the value that I'm bringing to the organization. This is what I've achieved over the last year. This is how it impacts the bottom line, whether you're in finance, whether you're in HR, marketing, whatever the case may be, right? It is possible to articulate your value. And when you are able to articulate your value, then the conversations around salary increases, promotions, they become extremely easy because your value and your numbers speak for themselves. And I think, yeah, we should always have that at the back of our minds.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Yeah, so we see that value is so important, and just like knowing yourself is actually very critical. And it takes us to our next theme, which is about self-worth. And when I was preparing for the panel, I did think, what does self-worth have to do with money, right? It's like, if you have money, you have money. If you're trying to make money, you're trying to make money. But actually, like, money actually has a psychology. And what you'll find is that the people who are extremely wealthy, or the people who know how to like generate wealth, there is a psychology to how they perceive money, how they receive money, and how they make money work for them, right? And confidence has a huge factor to play. So just moving on to the next question, Ejiro, when I read your bio and I saw that, you've been on national television, you've been recognized by CNN, Al Jazeera, well done. You guys, I think, can give Ejiro a round of applause. Yeah. That is not easy. I love it when I see Nigerian businesses like being out there, because it's like you're telling our story. But that comes with confidence. How are you able to, one, position your business in such a way that you receive that international recognition? And even just in terms of your self-worth, can you like share more about that?
Being a woman, first started being a young girl. I have all brothers. So right from when I was growing up, it was always a struggle to be seen. I won't say struggle. I mean, I had to assert myself as opposed to struggle. So I have this no grief for anybody mentality and stance to life. I mean, I would not say I came from privilege. In fact, I did not come from privilege. But just knowing who you are and what you deserve in this world. I mean, I just think about like, I'm human, and those who have are also human. So that's the basics. We have the same brain, we have the same genetic makeup. So therefore, whatever they have, I also have. And if I am a child of God, and then that means I have everything I want. So I just have to believe it and go for it. I think a lot of the times we're so focused on where we are. If I had to look at where I was, I wouldn't take the bold step to even dream and articulate what that dream. Like when Kara said she looked back and she saw her younger self, I had those moments, so and I've looked back and now I'm in that I need to dream again, Lord. Face. Like I just want to dream again, because I was like, I'm going to go into business, even though no one in my network or immediate environment was into business. My parents were civil servants. I'm like, I want to do this and I'm going to do it. I don't know how, but I believe I have the mental capacity and I have the talent to do it. So it's just that audacity of self-belief. You just have to look in the mirror and tell yourself, this is who I am. And then when she says, write it down, seriously, write it down. Every time I wrote, I'm the fastest growing business, I was given an award for being fastest growing business. I'm the best outstanding Nigerian designer. Somebody just come from somewhere, award, Nigerian. And it's just stuff I wrote like every year. It's what I want to be called. It's what I want to be known. I will never go for an award where they will tell me vote for it. And I'm like, I don't deserve it then. If I have to ask everyone to vote for me, that's not an award. That doesn't attest to anything I've done or become. So it's just staying in your own power, believing in what you have and who you are, and asking for that recognition, not by verbally asking for it, but commanding it with the work of your hands and just. And I think that's what I have been able to get. And just believing that, I don't really care about the current order of things. I want to be number one. I'm going to be number one. And I know that I'm not the same as everyone else, probably that has gone the number one route. So I look at myself, I look at my strengths and what I need to get from point A to point B. So looking at what other people have done is good, but you need to look at yourself. Everyone was created uniquely, and for you to even have that thought and the idea to generate and create wealth, everything to become what you are imagining, you already have, sort of. So it's either in the network or the people or like little things. So when I started my business, I started with 40,000 naira, but I had friends. I had a whole network of artists that I had gone to school with. So branding came easy because I had graphic artists as friends and I had gone to an art school. So designing my shops and my spaces came easy when I eventually got it because I had the knowledge, at least to start. So stuff like leverage, use other forms of payment as opposed to just waiting for money to be everything. Getting visibility. Way back then, most people were only going to the red carpet with Valentino, Frada, whatever it was. So when you're talking to Genevieve and all those people that were on the red carpet at the time, they will only speak about those foreign designers. But Maya Tafo saw that gap, I'm sure because it was in branding. I also saw that gap and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to work with all the celebrities, and that was something I did. And it was something I could afford because I could make the clothes. It only cost to be the fabrics and stuff. So I would spend my time and I would go deliver it and all of that. And so quickly, within a year, I was a household name in Nigeria. So you have to really articulate, and from a cotton nonetheless. I started from my bedroom in my parents' flat in Ikotu Egbe. Who knows where Ikotu Egbe is? Yeah, so if I could make it out of Ikotu Egbe to Ikoyi within 3 years, you can. You have to have that audacity. I drove my furniture to my Ikoyi shop in my beat down Previa. Yes, very old car that I bought as scrap. And I ended up buying the steering wheel, buying the this, buying the that. Yeah, because I started buying that car when I had just like maybe 200,000 naira. And so I put like 100,000 on the scrap, on the body. So every time I had like another 80K, I'll buy like something. So over like 6 months, I was able to build my first car. Because at that point, paying for taxi every day, 10K, was too much money to spend. It sounds funny, but you have to dream different. Don't wait for everything to be like Tomi. No. I'm just saying, if you don't have Tomi's journey, don't wait until you can go to school in the UK and have the kind of family she does and be like, oh, woe is me. It will never happen for you. Woe is you. If you believe woe is you, if you believe that, I want to sit next to Tomi, and we're going to be friends and we're going to have the same access to stuff. I'm going to travel the world. Then you're just going to do what you need to do to get out of where you are. So sacrifice is a big part of it. By the time I rented my Koi store, I hadn't bought a pair of jeans in like 2 years. I had just every year I bought one pair of shoes, one sandal, one sneakers to do whatever I needed. And I was going on TV. I was already popular, but I was very, very, very prudent. Extremely prudent. I drove the furniture to the store. I designed them mostly with artisans in Ikotu. So it's audacity. All my neighbors tell me, are you really sure you own this shop? I'm like, yeah. Because he was a big dude. And, his mom was financing his business. I was like, you have audacity. I was scrawny. Somebody like me shouldn't own a shop at the time on the high street, one of the biggest high streets in Nigeria. But the audacity, like, you know what? I have worked in brands that are just here. So if I'm going to use the same brain to create stuff that is going to serve the same market, I have to be seen on the same place. So what do I need to do to get there? I'm going to do it. So when I make ₦1 million, for example, I'm only taking out like 100K, that's it. We're going to find a way to manage that 100K. The rest is staying there, but we want to invest in. And so I grew it by constantly reinvesting. So you can. I'm bothering to tell this story so that you don't say, oh, my salary is just 150K, it's just 250K, it's just 350K. That's a lot, darling. It's a lot. Because right before I started doing this, my salary was 90,000 naira and I spent it all. I was living in an apartment in Oniru. My job gave me an apartment. We had a staff car. So I was balling, spending all my money, living island big girl life. But when I started my business, I had to check myself and resign and go to Kotu, a long way off radar, to go re-strategize, then come back and then become, so that I'll be seen the way I chose to be seen. So it's in your hands, babe.
Jen, amazing, amazing, amazing. Ejiro, thank you. And thank you for that vulnerability. And I think it's such a lesson for everyone in this room, right? Regardless of how much you currently earn, whether you come from privilege or you don't. But I think what I picked out that was so significant is your prudency, right? Even when you started to make money, it's very easy that when money comes into your hands, people don't realize that the same way money comes, it can leave very quickly, right? So one, if you're not even around the right people, because Ejiro is speaking from someone, you compare it to her, but she's strong, she's resilient. You have self-discipline. Many people don't have that, right? Many people don't even have the tools to sort of tell themselves, there's a new bag, but no, I need to save money for the next 2 to 3 years because I want to start a business like Ejiro, or I want to be able to pay for an MBA to further my studies, or I want to be able to take multiple trips a year, right? But hearing Ejiro is like, you have to be so intentional. Surround yourself with the right people. Ask questions. And when you get stories like this, it's encouraging. And for people who even come from like well-off backgrounds, I think it's very easy to be comfortable to sort of say, the money is always going to be there. You don't actually know tomorrow, right? So thank you so much for that vulnerability. I think we've all learned a lot. Round of applause. Okay, great. So my next question, Toby, is for you. As someone who's very passionate about financial inclusion and for women digital products, when I was doing research, there's like a 20% gender gap between men and women. When it comes to like negotiating salaries or I want a promotion, women usually take the back. What should we be doing to position differently?
So I kind of touched on this, right? And it still boils down to value creation. I was recommended a book. It's called Brag Better, right, by Meredith Feynman, right? And in a nutshell, it talks about being able to amplify your achievements and not short sell yourself. But it's called Brag Better, but it's not bragging, oh, I'm an 8, but it's being constructive, letting people know your value, being visible, speaking up about your worth, not diminishing yourself. Not, oh, well, I think I can. No, you should be able to confidently say that, okay, I have achieved this and this is the value that I bring. I think women, we need to be confident. We need to take up those opportunities, because what you find is that when there's a roll call, you'll find probably twice the number of men who would come out compared to women, right? Even a few weeks back, I was at an event, right? And the entire event, it was men asking questions, tapping into, what was being shared. And there was literally no woman. And it took for one of the directors, I think from bank industry, she was, look, okay, I'm here, talk about women empowerment. Why are there no women asking questions? And she literally had to go around calling people out. And at that point, there was a celebration of women and women found their voice. So I think the reality is that we need to take charge of our futures. We need to speak up. Don't be shy. Like even recently, I saw there was something trending online with Emma Greed. She's one of the co-founders of Skims, right? And she talks about, post-COVID, a lot of women have gotten comfortable. The flexibility of remote working is great. Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy it. I have children, it helps. But the reality is that that impact that you want to make, you're not going to do it from your bedroom. And that's what she was basically alluding to. You need to get out there. So it's a healthy balance. Don't hide behind the comfort of, okay, they said I can work remotely, and then you stay in your own little corner for years. People won't know you. Male counterpart is out there, rubbing shoulders, getting a name for himself, getting known. So I think we need to do everything with balance, and also understand that, as Ejiro said, networking, being visible is critical. And these are the things that make a difference in terms of how you can have an impact. Being out there, grabbing those opportunities when they come, will make a difference. Because yes, you might be from privilege or you might not be, but sometimes it's being in the room that makes the difference. And if you're not in the room, then yeah, you're not part of the discussion.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah. And even just that point, Toby, about like being intentional to be out there. I think some women may take the step and say, oh, I went to the event, but then they go back home and it's like, yeah, but what was the impact or what was the value? I feel like people don't really think about that. Yes, you went, but what action did you take? Like, how are you proactive? It's one thing to go to the event and sit and listen and write it in your book, but can you challenge yourself to not just be someone who just sat and listened, but actually walk up to someone to say, oh my God, I love how you started your business. Even I know it could be weird to say, can you mentor me? I think things like that could be funny, but you know, I'm interested, or what tools should I be looking at? What books should I be looking at? This really resonated with me. Very you have to act on it, right? And just talking about like pricing and value. You who has like a business and subsidiaries, when it comes to like pricing, it's very important for businesses, right? People don't really necessarily know how to price products, one, maybe from a financial standpoint, right? Ejiro touched about knowing the numbers. Tara even said sometimes as women, we don't put value to our work. And what she meant was, and beside how I was laughing, I said, I fall into that bracket because I get so embarrassed, right? To sort of say, can you pay me money? For no reason. I just kind of feel like, why should I tell somebody to pay me money? But she said, no, I know it's so ridiculous, right? I need to put you guys pray for me. But she said, you're valuable. It has to do with confidence. It has to do with how you see yourself. You don't see yourself. And with you, Tomi, when you started your business, it wasn't even a case of you telling your family and friends, oh, I have a salon, come for free. We paid you money, right? Was going to collect her coins. So when it comes to pricing and structure, can you share more about this? Yeah.
So Toby has mentioned it's all about value creation. When you're creating value or adding value, people will pay. So just know, first of all, once you have value to add, people will pay. So now how do you price your value? So with me, I have two lines of business now. So I have a service business, which is my salon, and I also have a product line, which is the hair products. So for my salon, I knew that, okay, I want my salon to be a premium salon. I don't want it to be like any other salon in Lagos. When you come in, I want you to feel like you're abroad. I want the services to be premium. I want the experience to be premium. And so you price that into your service, right? So my salon is probably slightly more expensive than the next salon, but it's because of that premium, right? And I'm confident in that value. I know that when you come, you're like, whoa. And when you're leaving, you're like, yeah, it's expensive, but it was worth it. So you have your costs, you have your overheads, which you must cover, right? You're not running a charity, you're not running an NGO, you're running a business. So you must cover your overheads. However, you can add a margin depending on how much you price your premium set. Does that make sense? So you have your basics, you cover your basics, cover your overheads, add a little margin, which is like your cost plus pricing. And then for businesses that are more premium, more niche, like my salon, I then add an additional layer of margin. So we're slightly more expensive than your average salons. For my product lines, it's very similar. So we have raw materials, we have packaging materials, we're making a product. So we want to give you a finished good. So you have to take into account all the costs that go into producing that finished good, right? So a hair oil, for example, I have my ingredients that go into the hair oil. I have my packaging. You price all of those in, right? And then you add a margin because you want to make a profit, right? You determine that margin. but you have to also be aware of competition. So what is the market charging, right? If my product is 10,000 naira, my oil is 10,000 naira, and I go to Balogu market and the average price of oils is 4,000 naira, chances are that I'm not going to sell. So you have to price in line with competition, while obviously still recognizing the value that your product has to offer. Yeah.
Does anyone want to answer that? No. Okay, great. No, Tommy, fantastic. Thank you. And I feel like we were just schooled on like a mini MBA, etc. So well done. But just still speaking about pricing. Oh no, actually, you know what? Let me just jump to the next question. What is one financial mistake that you have faced in your business or personally that you learned from and other people can learn from?
Okay. Not budgeting properly. So I wanted to start my hair care line, the products, the relaxer. And I knew that, oh yes, the salon is great, it's running, but I want to grow, right? I want to make more money, right? So how do I do that? I can offer products, right? I can compete with the giants that exist. So I don't know if you guys know Mega Growth. I don't know if you know ORS. Okay, so I was like, these guys are in Lagos. They're owned by Indian conglomerates. Why can't a Nigerian do this? I have a salon already. So I started the journey and I was like, I want to do something that is bigger than me. So I obviously needed to raise capital. And I did not take into account every single line I didn't do my costing properly. So I was undercapitalized. I didn't raise enough money that I needed. And so we struggled, most of last year. We really, really struggled because we didn't have enough funding. So I think the lesson for me was to literally take everything into account. Budget for marketing, budget for production, budget for raw materials, budget for logistics, budget for transport. Like literally take every single thing into account so that you can go out there into the marketplace and be successful. I think that's one thing. Budget properly. Yes.
Yeah, amazing. And the same question to you, Ejiro.
Financial mistake. I very rarely catalog my failures because for me they're stepping stones. I don't even think about them.
I like that.
But if I must, it would also be underestimating certain project. Okay, or maybe just moving before calculating all the other parts that come with it. I remember, like 8 years ago, I started a second line, and I went to produce in China, and so it wasn't really a mistake. It was also a result of government policy. So we could change naira to yen at the time I went, and by the time I wanted to pay my balance, there was a problem. You couldn't do that anymore. So making that payment became very difficult. My stuff was stuck for like over a year. And by the time the goods landed, I had moved on mentally and emotionally, so the energy to even market, they're still in my office. I just moved on. I was so burnt. I'm like, no, as a creative, I can't do this. Because being a creative and an entrepreneur is two crazy things, yeah? It's not easy. I don't think I have somebody doing business restructuring for me at the moment. Like, is this really what you do? Like, are you even normal? So, like every fashion entrepreneur that is a designer and they're creating, like, part them and running production at the same time. Meaning, you run a production company, you now have to design. Then you also do marketing, like have stores, and I produce, and then it is crazy. No human being to sit down and do all those things together. So at that point, I was burnt out. So that whole money around that business, I lost. So it's underestimating the things you want to step into, but also nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? So I also learned a lot, like you do your research beyond what you want to do. What does the government policy say? What is about to shift? What are the things that the Nigerian government is discussing with China, for example? Are you going to be able to exchange naira for yen easily, or you're going to do naira to dollar, then dollar to yen? You have to understand all those intricacies, and then is the market ready? So I had a collection then also that I designed that was ahead of its time. Now it's totally what would rock out. But 10 years ago, people were like, it's too bright for the workplace. It was a work line, and it was bright colors, sharp suits. But that's what's in now, post COVID. So it's really doing your market research beyond what you think and what you feel, because you're not going to consume those products. The people are. So it doesn't matter what you think you're good at, if you want to make money, is there an audience for it? Is there somebody going to pay me for it? Will other people find this valuable? Am I presenting it to the right audience? Yeah. So I had to even scale up my products, because I had built this brand and it had garnered acclaim, and I was still selling, for lack of a better word, very accessible products. And that wasn't doing me a lot of good. So I was struggling for years. Then I got a consultant, and you must do that from time to time. If not, you just get comfortable and then you'll be wiped out of the market. And he did a business analysis and said, "You're doing too much work and you're charging too little." So I think, and then I got copied a lot. So I was very good at generating ideas, simplifying it, and the whole bandwagon of Nigerian designers would jump on it, and we all start struggling for the same money in the same place. Because had this gift of translating things and making them very simple. So I had to find a way to go back and say, you know what? Maybe I can make it very simple so that I will make the money for myself. I need to feed myself. If not, this passion and this dream is going to eat me out. So I had to scale back, and, being a creator, sometimes you're scared of doing the numbers, even though I know numbers, of pricing rights. I had to let some other members of my team take charge and say, you know what? We see how hard we work, and we know what we deserve, and we know what other people are charging for. We'll leave this pricing thing for us. And they started putting the prices on the clothes, and financial story completely changed. So sometimes it's not being the alpha and omega in your business, knowing that people that you have raised and you have groomed, and now you can step in front. Like my team in Ghana right now have an exhibition. We've never done Ghana before, but I chose to not go. Like, you can't have people that worked on your team, and every time you're taking the lead for international stuff. So they're pray for us, have to come back really successful. But those are just certain lessons that around money, and be comfortable with your mistakes. In a sense, like, don't let them bury you, and don't count yourself out. Like, if I had stopped because that happened, I wouldn't be here. If I have a mistake, maybe going into a different country for the first time, and I didn't make money and I stopped at that, then I'm not really growing. So what about growth is you must be comfortable and be expecting that you will make mistakes. But you must do your research enough to make sure that you have a lot of success as well. But there are certain things that you have blind type in, and you learn them, and then you continue your journey. That's it.
Thank you. Will you?
Okay, so I think I spoke to one of my biggest regrets already, like not getting started earlier. So I'll speak to one thing that I think that women should think about when building wealth. And I think it's, we can put in all our energy building our businesses, working out into 5, acquiring assets for ourselves, feeling like we've arrived. And I think one thing that we have to remember is things like insurance. So a personal story, like recently, last week Saturday, I woke up to take my son out for his clubs, and I got outside and my car was gone. It was gone. So like after, getting out of the days, oh my God, like what actually happened, I realized that the car was stolen. And up till now, it's not found. But the reality is that if I hadn't had insurance, right? Not just having insurance, having comprehensive insurance, giving them the right value of the car and the right details, like it would be a different story. And I think that it's just something that we need to take note of, sustainability of our wealth. These are things and products that are in place to help us sustain the wealth that we're creating. Too many times, especially, for example, in the US, the homelessness is crazy. And when you find out people's stories, it's one health medical issue that has eroded, all the money that they've had because they've had to deal with medical bills. So, things like health insurance, travel insurance, car insurance, I think it's something that, we should always, business insurance, home insurance, things that we shouldn't take for granted.
And thank you so much. And I think, this wasn't,
So we currently have life insurance product.
perfect. Yeah. Yeah, I think the insurance conversation is something that's very relevant, and I don't know whether it's like a cultural, like Nigerians or Africans, like they just go with insurance.
Fate it all.
Pardon?
We fate it.
We
We
exactly.
fate.
I don't know what the solution. An insurance like expert or something. I don't know what the solution is. Whether it's like
I think first thing is just
Hello.
mindset shift. Like grace of God, I believe in God. Grace of God is good, but there are cool things that we can do, practical things that we can do to safeguard some unfortunate events. So I think that's number one, the mindset shift.
yeah. And just speaking about mindset, if you guys can just give one word to the audience about mindset when it comes to money for women, what would that word be? To be scouting for me.
One word.
Me too.
Um, okay, so when I got married, my husband said to me that you need to let go of the poverty mindset. He said, "Stop counting the pennies," and he said that on our wedding day. So I think, in terms of mindset shift, that's what I would say. Yeah.
To me,
Oh, me. One word or two. Okay. So I'd say abundance, right? So abundance of money, abundance of wealth. And I would say like shift from impossible to possible, right? So yeah.
I feel you're worthy. Like, that's worthy. Like, sometimes it is believe, it can't be me or it shouldn't be you or, but you're here now. You are worthy. So dream and go for it as far as your eyes can see, as far as your imagination can contain. Nothing's gonna flip those wings. Just fly. Let it fly already. Go for it. You're worthy. You're worthy.
And just to add, your financial growth can never exceed your sense of self-worth, right? Your financial growth can never exceed your sense of self-worth. So if you think, oh, I'm not good enough. I can't go beyond this space, then you can't grow financially either. So they go together, your sense of self-worth and your financial growth.
And you're also willing to sacrifice. A lot of people want great things, but they're not willing to put in the work. A lot of women, sorry, sometimes we are own downfall. Like you're very happy to see your husbands and your brothers work hard, and you want to be babied. You don't want to put in the work that it deserves to create the wealth that you want. If you want to be Tara, do you really listen to her story? And seen the grunt work that she has done beyond the self improvement that is constant. She's a student right now. How many times have you gone back to school? How many times are you learning or in a space of learning? How well do you put in your that effort at your workplace? Are you the excellent staff or you're the one who's just add to the numbers? Do you bring your opinion to the table when you have an idea or you're like, I don't want them to use me? These are silent things that we do. And we're like, oh, nobody's going to use my brain. But if that brain is not massaged enough, and if you don't even see what those ideas you have can result in, then it's really not doing anything. And God's going to take that gift and moving on to someone else who's willing to do. So we know with that we are, or we've been conditioned for centuries to be a certain way. But if we know that we also deserve what the men have, we have to take on a few of their attributes: audacity of belief and just the ability to go for it. So if it means getting out of the house, like you said, and being seen, just do it. It won't break. You would only get better. You have to go through fire to become the best version of yourself. So this thing that you don't want to go through, this pain that you are so adverse to, that you don't want to feel, emotional, physical. You still see someone, I knew it. Like this, it's good. Like you can only come out to be a baby girl if you somehow put in that work. If you find out how hard she works, you would not want to articulate it. You'll be like, that can never be me. She's working till 10 p.m. some days. I'm not saying that till 12. Okay. So you see, so all the boss ladies you see and you think, oh, very nice. Truth is, it's stacked up against the women. Truth, facts. You don't have the boys' club to go cut your deals. So if you're going to find a way to the boys' table, you're going to maybe find a way to get to the boys' club or outwork them, even though sometimes you outsmart them. But if you cannot prove it or outwork them, then you're not really going to get anywhere. So unfortunately, for now, we have to put in more work. So if you want to be one of the few women that your children will thank for moving the needle so that they can be at par with the men, let's buckle up, ladies. Let's get to work.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you guys. No, amazing comment, ladies. And I think for me, my word is just like excellent spirit. And each of you have actually touched on that. Like just having that spirit of excellence, like it's already in us and just believe in yourself. I was watching Dervis You. I love podcasts and I own a podcast. And he interviewed this guy, he's like a financial expert. He did it like Remy said. He has a show on Netflix. It's called like I Will Teach You How to Get Rich. And what he says, who knows the show? Okay, you guys know it great. And he made a comment one time and he said, you kind of need to have like higher conversation. So it's one thing to like sit with your friends and say, I want to make money, I want to travel. Can you be specific about what it is you want to make? Don't just say, I want to make money. Be specific. By December, I should have saved $1,000. This is just an example, right? Be very specific. Have higher conversations with your friends, right? And to be fair, not all friendship groups are cut out to be the same. You can segment. Yes, it's possible. Have your segmentation of friends you have fun with, your prayer group friends, and then literally find your business community who is very driven when it comes to starting a business, when you're confused about raising capital, when you don't even know what investment products you should be looking at. People actually want to help you, and it starts by you just asking, what is it that you do? This is where I'm trying to get to, and you will get there. So guys, this has been a phenomenal panel. I would also share in terms of resourcing, because everyone has said something very useful. Grants. I thought that was very significant. In Nigeria, we don't really talk about grant. You say we're taking a loan or I am raising capital from a VC firm, and then it becomes very like stringent. But in terms of grants, BOI is a resource that has been mentioned multiple times in this conversation in this room. Look at BOI. They are very, very willing to give like startup businesses loans, more than you would expect. In fact, Lagos Leather Fair, when they began their work, I have a friend who's in the family of the Lagos Leather Fair. When I asked her how they raise money, she said, it's FBOI. That was literally how they got their first funding. So Bank of Industry is one. MasterCard Foundation is actually like another resource that people could look at. And I don't know if you guys also know, I don't know if it's competed, but Her Economy, they do grants as well. So these are just like some resources to look at. What British Council is another resource. You guys write this down. Which one? AFDB is also like another resource. So research those resources and you'll be surprised at what you find, right? There is still money to give up. So awesome. We'll just take some questions from the audience. Gloria, is this you? Okay.
I know that I'm not so much of a business person. I've always known I want to be in the 9 to 5 space. So I currently run my MBA and I just want to ask, how do I position myself to be seen? Because the field I'm in currently it's wide. I've seen people in that field for 10 years and they still do not know everything. So I just want to ask, how can I, put myself in a position where I can, easily round that particular field? Okay, I don't know. Sorry. Okay, so I'm in trade finance, not the trading part, but like the import and export part of trade. Yes, trade operations. Thank you.
Tomi, will you answer her? But I thought you said you started and you were still doing your 9 to 5 at the same time. So I think you're in the best position. No, you will. Don't worry. Let's go to the next question. Okay.
Thank you. My name is Shion. So I heard you mention it spoke about prudence and then the abundance mindset. So I'm like, how can we have a balance between being prudent and having that abundance mindset? And Tobi, I think you said something about a brand better book. I didn't get that. So if you could brand better brag. Oh, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. The third question, please.
Hi, my name is Sandra. My question is directed to you. Hi, Ejiro. You spoke about when you started your brand, you kept selling for less and everything. But then at the point you decided that I have to pass this stage. So I have a business that I run with my friend, but the business is beauty and all that. So we have a lot of people. I mean, Tower came here. That's Tower. So how did you do it? What did you do different that made people accept that? Okay, for instance, this thing that I'm selling for 20,000, I want to increase it to 50,000. So that's my question.
Justin, good afternoon. My question is around structuring your business for grants. I know Ejiro spoke about that earlier. So, in terms of your finances, your structure, how do you position a startup to ensure that when you're driving that conversation, you are being taken seriously?
So first question, I have a 9 to 5 that I'm currently passionate about and I don't want to leave it. But however, I also have the idea to start a business. I actually started last year, but I had to stop. The issue is I really don't know how to move it beyond me. How do we get to that place when you have a 9 to 5 that you want to maintain, but also want to run a business? When do you know is the right time to have someone to be able to run it for you perfectly? And last question, when we talk about insurance, like Tobi mentioned, something that we all plead the blood of Jesus and everything, and we forget about it. For someone who is in a 9 to 5 and you enjoy probably insurance from workspaces, how do you go beyond what your work offer for insurance to get something outside on you? Because work, you may wake up one day and you're fired the next day. How do you go about that? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Adenike Adeoye. I remember that when you were talking, you mentioned calculating the cost you incur to either produce something, your product or services. So now I'm into a 9 to 5 job. At the same time, I'm working on building a mobile hub for maternal health. So now putting money together from people who believed in what I'm doing and my own savings to actually do this thing. So do you mean that I have to put all the costs I incurred to get this thing done on what will be the cost price by the time the hub is being done? I just want to get clarity about that.
So sorry, what's your name? Adeola. Okay, so you're in banking and you're in operations. So you're in the back office. Okay, so my advice to you, because I used to work in banking, I noticed that people in the back office were very shy and you would just be at your desk doing your desk work, right? You didn't really make yourself visible. So you might be doing your work fantastically, but you're not really visible within the organization. Am I correct? Okay, so you have to, first of all, be confident, right? So it starts from you. You know your work, you know your value, you know what you bring to the organization, and you need to be able to demonstrate this to your manager, right? Your bosses. There's no point being the world's best kept secrets. That's one thing I always say. So if you are doing your work and you're just hiding and your bosses don't know your capabilities, then you're not going to grow, right? So if you're able to step out of your comfort zone, come out of your shell and demonstrate your capabilities and even show that you're able to go above and beyond your call of duty, I think that would really, really help you in terms of gaining recognition in your organization. Yeah.
Sorry, can I touch on that very quickly? And just to add to that, I think this thought leader, many people don't think about this. So when you see people writing on LinkedIn, you're interested in what they're saying, right? I think we assume thought leadership is reserved for people who have so much experience. Thought leadership is for everybody. So even if it's you just writing an article about what you did today or did last week in terms of operations, you can literally start an article. Guys, did you know one-on-one about trade of this operation? These are and then people start to identify you as a thought leader. Before you know it, your boss is calling you and you're like, please come and speak on logistic operations. So be a thought leader. Yes.
Okay, so your question was about you like your 9 to 5, but you also have a side business. And so how do you combine? Can I ask what is your side business in? Cleaning. Okay. So it's all about your team, honestly. You have to have a very strong team. A team is only as strong as its weakest link. So if, let's say you have a manager, for example, and your manager is in charge of operations, you have to have a good manager and be willing to pay that person good money to do that work. So then that takes that burden off you. So that's one thing I've learned. When I was working 9 to 5 and I had my salon, I paid a lot of money to my managers just because I didn't want that headache of operations, right? So you have to be willing to invest in your team and pay them well. That is,
Profit sharing, that could help.
yes,
Instead of abandoning business altogether, you can do profit sharing. That will give
that can incentivize,
more easy to do the job well. Yeah, but you're not boring so much. And then you have to also just write out what you want somebody else to do. I know you feel like you're the only one who will do it perfectly, but the other people that can do it, you really articulate it and then maybe have kind of SOP.
Yeah.
Just taking what is required. Call this person at this time, that. You'll be surprised that your niece who is 16 can articulate that and do it. So you just need to write it down. You help me remember them. So there is the grants question. How do you make sure your books, right? Grants, somebody? Who was the person? Okay. How do you make sure your books are up to date so you can attract reps? For a new business, you're not having any books to present. So you have an idea, but you should be able to project. If money comes into this business now, I'm going to use the money to do X, Y, Z. And most of the time, I'm not going to give you money to buy an asset. No, to buy assets, they'll give you money. For operations, they'll give you money. But some certain other things that they feel are frivolous, they won't. So you need to run this business idea by other people and really see that you streamline very correctly what you want to do and what you really need money for. So all the extra niceties, they might not give you money for that. But if you really need to buy generators or machinery, if you're doing processing or production, they'll be willing to finance that. But things like rent, they want to also see what you are bringing to the table. So you cannot put all your needs 100% on the requirement for the grant. So you need to have something you're bringing to the table. If it's the space or your intellect, that needs to be clearly articulated. Your team, or there's really a proposal, not your finance books. If you are starting a business, that needs to be well articulated. And they'll have a desk at BOI to help you cross-check that anyway. So if you qualify for these grants, you would know. And you can get mentors or people that help you write your books, articulate and make sure it's well written. So find those people, they're available. You can help you check through. Then the question around price. Yeah. So I didn't just increase the price of my product. I didn't do that. I changed the product. I streamlined it. I was doing all things for all people. Like, I want to attract this market. No. And then when I did that and created unique things, everyone will copy and offer it for a similar, just a little less. So I was draining. So I constricted that and offered premium product instead. So it was different design, different material, and then focus on niche market, not trying to make sure I get everyone. But if you're getting everyone and you can articulate the value, people are not paying you just because you're working. They're paying for the perceived value. So she said she priced higher because of the premium. And that had to do with the way the space looked, the kind of service that was offered. It's not just what existed in her mind, it's what she presented to people. And they could feel it, touch it, and experience it. And they were willing to pay more. So if you're working too hard and you want to increase your revenue, find ways to fine-tune your offering, your unique selling point. What is it? Articulate it, and then you increase. You might just need to do more numbers. So if you need to get more people producing with you or braiding with you, if you want to keep braiding for, let's say 20K, that's possible. But that's mass market. So you need to have more braiders, have a platform, maybe even an app to get people to do their braiding and you get your own percentage. Everything is different strategies for different kind of market and offerings. You get it? If you want to increase your price, you have to tweak the product. You should put all that price into the cost of the service. And I said no, because that's a different, like everything you took it starter. Someone doesn't pay for it in one outfit, in one garment. Same thing with this. So you have to spread it. You are investing into your business. You're not going to reap all that investment on one product or within 1 year. It will be over time. So they're telling you that are long term. So building that, they're going to reap the rewards long term. So you spread it out, and they will start with the pricing.
Okay, I think there are two questions I can answer. There was something about prudence versus abundance, right? I think that what I would speak to is living below your means, right? You can have an abundance mindset. I know where I'm going. I want the world, right? But at every point in time, live below your means. If you're having to cough out everything you have to make a purchase and then the next month you're broke, then you're living above your means. So live below your means, right? Based on what you currently have, but be progressive. I think Tara talked about it, having goals, setting your financial goals. And it won't be static. It will move along each and every time. I think if you have the same goal and you achieve it and you don't move along, it means you're not looking at progress. So be progressive, have your eye, higher and higher, but wherever you find yourself, live slightly below, because then that means that you won't find yourself, completely out of everything. And I think the second question around insurance, yes, of course, it's employers provide certain insurances because they're mandatory, right? Understand what they're offering you. Does it really cover you for, eventualities? There's some companies that will provide you the bare minimum and then you have to top up. So the question you can ask yourself in terms of healthcare, do I want more? And depending on where you find yourself in life, if you have kids and all of that, you might decide that you want to top up on a better healthcare plan so that you don't have to worry. Likewise, whether it's car insurance, life insurance, it's taking a stand or taking a look at your life and where you are, what your needs are. It's going to be personal to you, and then make that decision as to what are the things that I want to cover. What are my risk factors? What are the areas that I want to make sure that I have a safety net? And there are lots of insurance companies out there. You can look at the HMOs. And yeah, I think that's kind of your starting place. Make an assessment of what you currently have and then know what you need to top up.
Amazing. Thank you. Before Gloria chases us out of the stage, but just the very last point, someone had asked about structure, and I know Ejiro shared in-depth knowledge about structure. But I just want to also say that structure can even just be the most basic things. First, what is your business about? I feel like if you can't narrate what your business is about, you've lost the audience. You've lost who you potentially want to sell to, right? Some people don't even know. If you ask them, what is your business? They can't narrate it. So know what your business is about. Then two, have you guys gone on Instagram to buy something and you call a number and it's someone's personal number? That's a lack of structure, right? Have official lines of communication if you want to be taken seriously. Don't sell it on your personal page, picking up on your personal number. Begin to have the expectations in your life between this is personal and then this is my business page, right? Those are the little details that actually help you with structure, and then from there you scale. Awesome. So guys, we're at the end of the panel. I think it was great. We can clap for everyone. Yes. Thank you so much.